brothers, grab your coffee and check your accounts because the world just turned into a total circus and your wallet is the one paying for the tickets. Yesterday, we were all watching a $26 billion deal with Iran that was supposed to end the conflict, keep the Strait of Hormuz open, and finally bring some sanity back to the markets. But then just like that, the whole thing fell apart. Donald Trump went from announcing a major breakthrough to caving under pressure from Netanyahu and the Republican war hawks in a single afternoon. He is now telling the press that the deal is not done, and he needs to take his time. Listen, I am not a politician. I am a guy who looks at balance sheets, and when I see a leader flailing like this, it is not just bad politics, it is a massive signal that the ground is shifting beneath your investments. This is what happens when you have a $39 trillion national debt and a leadership team that is more focused on building a $1 billion ballroom at the White House than solving the actual economic problems that are crushing the American middle class. Let us look at the math, because the math never lies. We are currently in a cycle of constant war spending. When you spend trillions on military operations instead of infrastructure, you get inflation, you get gas prices that make it impossible to drive to work, and you get healthcare costs that are stealing your retirement fund before you even hit age 65. The official line from the White House is that the economy is doing great with 4% GDP growth, but does that actually feel like your reality? If you look at the raw data, we are in a state of manufactured chaos. They tell you that the disruption in the Middle East harmed the economy. But they are ignoring the fact that global supply chains are breaking. And while they distract you with memes of drones and bizarre posts about international leaders, your 401k is being hammered by volatility. Let us talk about this ballroom. They say it is for national security, and they are using private donor money. But we all know that the security footprint for the entire White House adds up to a $1 billion price tag that eventually lands on the taxpayer's back. It is the same old story they tell you. It is national security, but it is just a massive waste of resources. While the real economy suffers, this is why I use ground news to cut through the noise. When I see a headline about a deal failing, I check the right, the left, and the center to see who is actually driving the narrative, because the war hawks are always pushing for more war, and the corporate media is always pushing for more spending. You need to burst through that echo chamber. If you are not tracking how these political games correlate to market trends, you are just blindfolded and waiting for the next crash. Let us break down the investment reality. If you are 100% invested in index funds, you are betting that the political leadership in this country is stable. But what happens when that leadership starts reversing major treaties on a whim after a single phone call? The market hates uncertainty. When Trump backs out of a deal, oil prices jump, shipping costs rise, and that inflation hits the companies in your portfolio. You think you are diversified. But if the geopolitical system breaks, everything goes down together. It is why I keep a portion of my portfolio in assets that do not rely on a politician's mood swing. You need to look at your personal risk tolerance. If you are 30 years old, 1% of your portfolio is a rounding error, but over 30 years, that 1% difference in annual return creates a gap of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Are you really willing to lose that because you were too distracted by political memes to see the structural shift in the economy? This is the hard truth. Donald Trump is not here to save your portfolio. And neither is the opposition. They are here to play a game of chess while your retirement is just a pawn. They are willing to sacrifice. So what do? Stop watching the political theater and start watching the macro data. Track the interest rates, track the debt to GDP ratio, and watch how the defense budget changes the purchasing power of your dollar. If you keep betting on the status quo, you are going to lose. I have seen it happen to guys who thought they were geniuses because they bought the dip during the last market run. But when the underlying system has $39 trillion in debt, the dip is not the bottom. The bottom is wherever the fiscal reality forces the market to reset. So, do not let them convince you that this is normal. Building a ballroom while the world is on fire is not normal. Ignoring constitutional authority is not normal, and betting your entire future on the decisions of a man who cannot even be consistent for 24 hours is a recipe for disaster. I am asking you to be smart, be the grown-up in the room, surround yourself with experts, look at the data, and make decisions that protect your family. Leadership matters. And right now, we are witnessing a vacuum that is being filled by chaos. Think about the $39 trillion in debt. That number is so large, it is almost impossible to comprehend. If you distributed that debt among every single American citizen, including infants, that is roughly $115,000 per person. Now imagine if you had to pay off that debt plus the interest, while the people in charge are arguing about ballroom decor. It is absolutely insanity. I remember back in 2008 when the world felt like it was ending. I was sitting in my tiny apartment eating ramen noodles and staring at my monitor. I had $5,000 in a brokerage account that was bleeding red ink every single day. I felt exactly how you feel. Now, anxious, worried, and wondering if the system was rigged against me, but I made a choice. I stopped trading based on the news, and I started building a portfolio based on math. I started buying SAG and Vogue. And I stopped looking at the daily price fluctuations. I kept driving my 1998 Honda Civic, I kept living in that tiny apartment, and I kept putting every extra cent into those index funds. By the time 2015 rolled around, that $5,000 had turned into $45,000. Not because I was a genius, but because I stopped playing their game and started playing my own. Now imagine that same strategy applied over a 30-year horizon. If you get a 7% return versus a 9% return, the difference is not just 2%, it is hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket. That is the power of compounding interest. But if you are constantly chasing the next hot trend or getting scared out of the market by political drama, you lose that edge. You are letting the politicians and the talking heads steal your future. Look at the S&P 500. It has historically returned about 10% on average. If you invest $1,000 a month at a 10% return for 30 years, you end up with $2.2 million. But if you let fear take over and you pull your money out every time the market dips, you might end up with half of that. Or nothing. Is a ballroom really worth your $1 million retirement gap? Is a meme of an American drone really worth the volatility that destroys your portfolio's long-term growth? Think about it. We are living in a time where information is free, but wisdom is rare. Everyone wants to sell you a secret strategy or a hidden trick, or a special indicator that will predict the next move. But the reality is that the market moves based on fundamental economic drivers, it moves based on supply and demand, on interest rates, and on the actual productivity of the companies you own. When you buy VO, you own the 500 largest companies. In the United States, you own Apple, you own Microsoft, you own Amazon. You own companies that generate real cash flow. Even if the ballroom gets built, and even if the Iran deal stays dead, these companies still have to make a profit to survive. That is where the value is. That is where the growth is. Not in a political tweet, not in a press release from the White House, and certainly not in a deranged meme. I want you to be the guy who wins in 30 years. I want you to be the guy who can afford to take care of your family, who can afford to retire without being a burden on anyone. That guy is made by boring choices, by consistent action, and by refusing to participate in the hysteria. When I started, I was drinking $2 coffee from a gas station, and I was happy because I knew that $2 was going to grow into something much bigger. I didn't care about the news. I cared about my contribution rate. I cared about my tax efficiency. I cared about my asset allocation. That is the real work of investing. Everything else is just noise. And this current news cycle, this whole drama about Trump in the ballroom, is the loudest, most annoying noise I have seen in years. It is designed to keep you glued to your screen, it is designed to keep you afraid, and it is designed to keep you distracted. Do not let them win. Turn off the television, cancel the cable subscription, and go look at your brokerage account, look at your expense ratios, check your dividend yield, and make sure your portfolio is aligned with your long-term goals. If you are in a high-interest credit card debt, pay that off first. That is a guaranteed 20% return on your money. If you have an employer match on your 401k, take every single penny of it. That is a 100% return on your money. These are the things that actually matter. These are the things that move the needle. Do not be the pawn, be the player. This is DD07, and I am telling you to get your head out of the political clouds and get back to the financial ground. If you need help, if you have a specific question about your 401k or your IRA, drop it in the comments. I read everything, and I will do my best to answer you with the same honesty that I would use with my own brother. We are going to keep building our wealth, and we are going to keep laughing at the chaos. Hit that subscribe button. Let us reach 7 million subscribers together, and let us show them that we are not going to be intimidated by the circus. Thank you for watching, and stay focused on the numbers, because the numbers are the only thing that will keep you safe when the world gets crazy. Keep saving, keep investing, and keep your hands off the panic button. See you in the next one. And remember, your 401k is your freedom, so protect it. Do not let anyone tell you that you are helpless. You have more control than you think. You have the power to decide how much you save, where you invest it, and how you react to the news. Take that power and use it wisely. It is the most important tool you have. We have navigated through recessions, through political scandals, and through global pandemics, and we have always come out the other side if we kept a cool head. This is no different. The $39 trillion debt is a problem, but it is a problem that takes a long time to manifest in the markets. It gives you time to adjust, it gives you time to diversify, and it gives you time to prepare. Do not rush, do not panic, and do not make emotional decisions. Just keep putting money into your accounts, keep lowering your costs, and keep learning about how the system actually functions. That is the secret to building a $1 million retirement. It is not about being a billionaire tomorrow. It is about being a multimillionaire in 30 years. And that, my friends, is entirely within your reach. Just stay the course. Everything else is just a distraction. So stop watching the memes, stop listening to the Warhawks, and stop worrying about the ballroom. Go check your portfolio, review your asset allocation, and make sure you are doing what you need to do to get to where you want to be. That is the best advice you are ever going to get, because it is the only advice that works. It is the only advice that has survived for centuries. It is simple, it is effective, and it is entirely up to you. So take control, be bold, and be smart. You got this, and I will be right here with you every single step of the way. Until we reach the finish line, keep grinding, keep saving, and keep winning. The game is is yours to play, so play it well. Every dollar you save today is a soldier fighting for your freedom in the future. Send them out there and let them work. They will do more for you than any politician ever will. I promise you that, so go forth and grow, and remember, stay calm, stay focused, and stay invested. That is how you survive. That is how you thrive, and that is how you win. Don't be distracted by the noise, focus on the signal. The signal is the compound growth in your account. Everything else is just background static. Stay strong, stay smart, and see you in the next video. This is the DD07 mission, and we are going to get it done together. Keep watching the numbers. They are the only thing that matters. Peace out. I am going to grab another cup of that cheap coffee, and you should go check your expense ratios. You would be surprised at how much you are losing to hidden fees. Check them, change them, and keep your money. That is the real secret to being wealthy, keeping more of what you earn. See you soon. Stay tuned. Stay wealthy. The best is yet to come. If you really want to know what I am buying, check the link in the description, but make your own decisions. Always do your own research. Never trust a guy on the internet, even me. Check the data for yourself. Verify everything, trust, but verify. That is the golden rule of investing. Always remember that. Okay, that is enough for today. Let us get back to work. See you in the next one. Everything is going to be okay as long as you take care of your business. Keep doing what you are doing, keep the faith, and keep the money. See you.